Be ready. Start. Clause 6 of Article 19 protects a law which imposes in the interest of general public reasonable restrictions on the exercise of the right conferred by subclause G of clause 1 of Article 19. Obviously, it is left to the court in case of a dispute to determine the reasonableness of the restrictions imposed by the law. In determining that question, the court cannot proceed on a general notion of what is reasonable in the abstract or even on a consideration of what is reasonable from the point of view of the person or persons on whom the restrictions are imposed. The right conferred by subclause G is expressed in general language, and if there had been no qualifying provision like clause 6, the right so conferred would have been an absolute one. To the persons who have this right, any restriction will be irksome and may well be regarded by them as unreasonable. But the question cannot be decided on that basis. What the court has to do is to consider whether the restrictions imposed are reasonable in the interest of general public. In the state of Madras versus V.G. Rao, this court laid down the test of reasonableness in the following terms. It is important in this context to bear in mind that the test of reasonableness, wherever prescribed, should be applied to each individual statute impugned, and no abstract standard or general pattern of reasonableness can be laid down as applicable to all cases. The nature of the right alleged to have been infringed, the underlying purpose of the restrictions imposed, the extent and urgency of the evil sought to be remedied thereby, the disproportion of the imposition, the prevailing conditions at the time should all enter into the judicial verdict. The expression "in the interest of general public" is of wide import, comprehending public order, public health, public security, morals, economic welfare of the community, and the objects mentioned in Part 4 of the Constitution. Nobody can dispute a law providing for basic amenities for the dignity of human labor, like provision for canteen, restrooms, facilities for drinking water, latrines and urinals, etc., as a social welfare measure in the interest of general public. Likewise, in respect of legislations and notifications concerning the wages, working conditions, or the other amenities for the working class, the courts have adopted a liberal attitude, and the interest of the workers has been protected, notwithstanding the hardship that might be caused to the employers. It was therefore open to the legislature or the authority concerned to ensure proper holidays for the municipal staff working in the municipal slaughterhouses and provide certain closed days in the year. Even according to the observations of the High Court, nobody could have any objection to the standing orders issued by the Municipal Commissioner under Section 466 1d(b) if municipal slaughterhouses were closed on certain days in order to ensure proper holidays for the municipal staff working in the municipal slaughterhouses. The tests of reasonableness have to be viewed in the context of the issues which faced the legislature. In the construction of such laws and in judging their validity, courts must approach the problem from the point of view of furthering the social interest which it is the purpose of the legislation to promote. They are not in these matters functioning in vacuo but as part of society which is trying by the enacted law to solve its problems and furthering the moral and material progress of the community as a whole. In view of the aforesaid discussion, we are not prepared to hold that the closure of the slaughterhouses on 7 days specified in the two standing orders in any way put an unreasonable restriction on the fundamental right guaranteed to the petitioner respondent under Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution. It is now well established that while Article 14 forbids class legislation, it does not forbid reasonable classification for the purposes of legislation, and that in order to pass the test of permissible classification, two conditions must be fulfilled, namely 1. The classification must be founded on an intelligible differentia which distinguishes persons or things that are grouped together from others left out of the group, and 2. Such differentia must have rational relation to the object sought to be achieved by the statute in question. The classification may be founded on different bases, namely geographical or according to objects or occupations or the like, and what is necessary is that there must be a nexus between the basis of classification and the object of the act under consideration. There is always a presumption in favor of constitutionality of an enactment, and the burden is upon him who attacks it to show that there has been a clear violation of the constitutional principles. Thank you.